really scary looking.
Tombstone's chief of police orders the cowboys to put up their hands. In the next few seconds, nearly 30 shots will be fired. Both McLaury brothers and 19-year-old Billy Clinton will be killed. Virgil and Morgan Herbert will fall, badly wounded. This bloody gunfight at the OK Corral was the climax of a bitter and often lawless struggle for political and economic control of Tombstone's riches. On one side were local ranchers and cowhands, mostly Southern Democrats, who had long controlled Arizona territory. More than 100 of these so-called cowboys had banded together under the leadership of the Clinton family. Many blamed the cowboys for every siege, robbery, and stolen cow territory. But Johnny P.R., sheriff of Coach gave them legal protection. And the Tombstone Local newspaper published by
You're good now.
Well, see, I haven't. I bet you I haven't got 5 gallons in the last
week.
And you gotta get.
Oh, there you are.
Same thing happened to him as it happened to you this morning.
It was one of them that you gotta get
gotta
moving.
go. You gotta go.
You gotta get moving real quick.
And you have.
It kicked in.
Yeah.
Cut towards your chum, not your thumb.
Well, I'm sure I didn't put something behind me, but I think
that?
I put a
Got
pipe.
Sadie something. They have a t-shirt in there. I bought this with Grandpa's money.
Boy, does that feel good.
Oh.
Holy.
$20 for a couple. Oh. And then we can get a group for 52.
Oh.
So we got a couple and then two. And she said if we're all in the same one, it goes on. And then, oh, okay.
I have a trolley tour leaving at 12:15. Next tour.
Oh, yeah.
Union? Yeah, Randy too.
Oh, wow. A picture of that horse. Oh, look at this.
She said, "Is that a horse?" I said, "No, do I look like a horse?" No, I said, really captures his eye that I could be a cowboy. That may not have a car.
Yeah, maybe an outlaw. That kind of smells a bit like horse shit.
Yeah, but not
It
more
smells like
horse.
some kind of shit. Okay, so what now we've got this for you.
Oh, we just started.
There's Big Nose Kate's Saloon over there. Right there.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you sure.
Really, that's the heavy. Well, that's what Randy says for. The car is worse than this one.
How you guys doing today?
Good afternoon. We're doing just fine. How about you folks?
Awesome.
Good.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, that's the haunted hotel.
Where's where the tickets are sold here?
Over there.
I think.
Do you want to go there
Yeah,
right now?
let's get it done.
Mom? We're going to go on the saloon, the stagecoach before it's full.
There's a big.
Oh, yeah.
And opened as the Golden Eagle Brewery. Tombstone had two major fires here. It survived the first in 1881, but burned down during the second. It was rebuilt and reopened in June of 1882 and has been the Crystal Palace, non-stop, ever since. Moving directly across the intersection to the upcoming left corner, you'll find the Oriental Saloon. This is where the Earp brothers had a percentage in the gambling. They were also saloon keepers there. Over here on the right, today the Longhorn Restaurant and the Branding Iron. In the 1880s, this was the Bucket of Blood Saloon and the Huachuca Water Company. Keep these three buildings in mind, and I'm going to tell you about a tombstone marshal named Virgil Earp. Now, Virgil was leaving the Oriental on the evening of December 28, 1881. He was halfway across 5th Street toward the Golden Eagle Brewery when a series of shots roared out the second floor window of the Huachuca Water Company. One of those shots struck Virgil on the left arm, shattering the bone and leaving him crippled for life. Despite that fact, he later became a lawman in Colton, California, where he earned the nickname the One-Arm Law Dog. Virgil died at the age of 62 from pneumonia in Goldfield, Nevada in 1905, but not before once again becoming a lawman in that town also.
What the hell was that?
Pardon me a second here, folks. Leroy, get up in there and help him out. Now, Wyatt let out of here on different adventures. He tried his luck at the gold rushes in Idaho and Alaska. He owned businesses in San Diego and wound up in Hollywood, where the last 10 years of his life, he served as a movie consultant in Hollywood's Westerns. One of the friends he made there was a young man working on the sets by the name of Marion Morrison, better known as John Wayne.
There you go.
Wyatt died at the age of 80 on January 13, 1929, from natural causes. Doc Holliday wound up in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, where he died at the age of 36 from tuberculosis, all alone in a motel room in November of 1887. Coming up on the left, we have the Birdcage Theater. This is Tombstone's most original and authentic building. It survived both fires and still has all of its original furniture and fixtures. It has over 140 bullet holes throughout that building. 26 men, 1 woman, and 1 dog all lost their lives in there. It is considered to be America's most haunted historic landmark. It's also home to the Black Maria, which was the horse-drawn hearse used to carry the dead to Boot Hill. One of only 8 ever made, now believed to be the only one left in the world, and valued at almost $2 million. The Birdcage also houses the poker table, which held the world's longest poker game at 8 years, 5 months, and 3 days. Coming up on the right, the Silver Hills Trading Company. 1881, this was site of the Arcade Saloon and Tombstone's first fire. 2 bartenders were arguing over a sour barrel of whiskey. One of them accidentally dropped his cigar in the barrel. The barrel ignited and the fire was on. 3 hours later, 4 city blocks and 66 buildings were completely history. Out the right side of the coach and at the end of the Crystal Palace, you'll see a cottonwood tree. It stands in front of the Tombstone epitaph. In December of 1879, a man by the name of John Clum arrived in Tombstone and declared, "Every tombstone deserves to have an epitaph." May 1st, 1880, he opened that newspaper. For many years, it was our daily publication. Still published monthly, it is Arizona's oldest continuously published newspaper. Coming up on the right, the Red Buffalo. 1880s, this was Gamble and Hatch Billiards. On March 18th, 1882, Morgan Earp was in there playing a game of pool with his brother Wyatt and one of the proprietors of that establishment, Bob Hatch, when an outlaw believed to be Frank Stillwell shot through the back door and assassinated Morgan by putting a bullet through his spine. It took Morgan less than an hour before he drew his final breath. On the right, the Shady Lady and Arlene's. 1880s, this was Brown's Hotel and Hafford's Saloon. Known as Hafford's Corner, this is where the Earp brothers met up with Doc Holliday on the walk to that gunfight. They turned right here on 4th Street, stopped at J.F. Spangenberg's and purchased ammunition. Continued to Fremont Street where they made a left and walked right on by the back entrance to the OK Corral. Now on the right corner, the old-time photos. 1880s, this was the Can Can Restaurant, owned and operated by a Chinese businessman named Kwong Ki. Kwong Ki was well liked in Tombstone. He died at the age of 96 and was buried in Bisbee, Arizona. The townfolk here raised up enough funds at Kwong Ki Exhumed. They brought him back to Tombstone, where he took up permanent residence in our Boot Hill Cemetery. Now out the right side of the coach, we have the world-famous OK Corral. This is where they say that gunfight took place on October 26, 1881. But folks, that's Hollywood's version. If you look out the right side of the coach and through our park, you'll see a wall. On the other side of that wall is an alleyway which led to Fremont Street. It was in that alley that the Clantons and McLowrys were waiting for the Earps and Doc Holliday. Now, as they made their way around that corner, it didn't take long at all for that gunfight to get started. In less than 30 seconds, and 30 gunshots later, 3 men lay dead. Tom and Frank McLowry and 19-year-old Billy Clanton. 3 men were injured. Virgil Earp was shot in the leg. Morgan Earp was shot through the shoulders. Doc Holliday suffered a graze to the hip. Only Wyatt Earp was left standing without a single scratch. This gunfight was recorded in Tombstone's archives as the Fremont Street Gun Battle. Coming up here on the left, we have a red building. This was home to China Mary, and I'll tell you a bit about her coming up. Now, in Tombstone's heyday, the population was 6,000. This was taken from a census that only counted white male voters. Figure in the women, children, and minorities, historians estimate it was closer to 15,000.
Whoa.
Of those 15,000, there were over 250 documented Chinese living right here in this part of Tombstone, known as Chinatown or Hoptown. Now, China Mary was a member of the Chinese Mafia, having complete control over the Chinese labor force, the so-called sporting houses, and the opium trade. If you were Chinese and wanted to work here, you had to see China Mary. If not, you weren't going to work here at all. If she did give you a job, you greased her palm every payday to keep that job. China Mary is buried in Boot Hill. Out the right side of the coach and into the desert, you'll see a mountain range. Those are the Dragoon Mountains, and this is where that famous Apache war chief, Cochise, held his stronghold against the United States Cavalry for over 7 years. Legend has it that Lieutenant George Bascom double-crossed Cochise under a flag of truce and took him prisoner. It didn't take long for Cochise to draw a concealed knife, slash his way through the tent he was held, and escape with no less than 3 bullets in his body. After several confrontations with the cavalry, he then fled to Mexico. Years later, he returned to his home in the Dragoons, where he died of natural causes. his body is said
Picks
to
up
be
a stone
buried
and
in a
goes through the
secret
blade.
location somewhere near his stronghold, along with his favorite war horse, his dog, and a cache of stolen military weapons. As of to this day, nobody has ever found his grave. Out the right side of the coach, you'll see a red building on the far corner of First Street. For 118 years, this was the site of Virgil Earp's home. Whoa, boys. Oh, now he puts his turn signal on. Folks, we're going to let the traffic go since we can't use turn signals here at Tombstone. Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Come on, let's go.
What do you mean, come on, let's go? There's traffic here.
No, I meant the car.
All right, come on, ma'am.
See?
There we go. Yeah, we're going to hang a left, so we might as well get her out of the way, too. All right, boys, let's get back to work. Now, back to over here on the right-hand corner. Now, diagonally across Fremont Street and off to the right, Wyatt and Morgan's homes both still stand today. Unfortunately, on June 6, 1998, a couple youngsters playing with matches set fire to Virgil's home, and that historic Tombstone landmark burnt to the ground. Coming up on the left-hand corner, we have the home of Sheriff Texas John Slaughter. Texas John was one of the meanest lawmen in the West. When he set out after an outlaw, good chance you weren't going to see that outlaw again. You see, Texas John only stood 5 foot 3 inches tall and weighed 140 pounds. He did not have enough physical strength to throw a man over the back of a horse. So if that outlaw gave him any problem, it'd just bury him right where he shot him and bring back his horse and saddle, just to prove that he got his man. Now there was another famous Apache warrior in these parts. His name was Geronimo. Geronimo had 3 encounters with Texas John, and after that, I'm inclined to believe he did not like him very well, because he referred to him as that wicked little gringo. Let's get back to work, boys. Step up. We're going to hang a left on Tough Nut Street, and I'll tell you a little bit about Tough Nut Street later in the tour. But as the coach straightens out on the right-hand corner, we have the home of Dr. George Goodfellow. He is the doctor that patched up Virgil's arm and tended to Morgan when he was shot in the back. As we go by, take a good look at the massive chain that runs around his home. See how bad some of those links are worn, and I'm going to tell you what this 130-plus-year-old chain was used for in a minute. Over here on the left, we have a green building. This was transported here from Fort Huachuca many years ago. In the 1890s, it was barracks for the Buffalo Soldiers. Now, Tombstone has over 300 miles of mine shafts and tunnels below. So no matter where you go in this town, good chance you're on top of a mine. However, there was no water here to process the silver ore. It had to be transported over 8 miles away to the San Pedro River. It was transported using 20 mule teams. Each team pulled 3 wagons loaded with ore. The chain around the front of Doc Goodfellow's was used to connect those wagons together. When the wagons would start downhill, the chain would gather slack and drag on the ground. That's how it got the name, the drag chain. That's how some of those links got so badly worn. It took 7 men to drive each team, and each wagon was loaded with 6 to 8 tons of ore. Leroy, Buster, wake up there. Coming up on the right, next to the stop sign, we have a historical marker. It represents a stump in the ground. In 1884, that was a telegraph pole. Keep that in mind, and I'm going to tell you about an outlaw. Now, John Heath was in Bisbee at the Goldwater General Store when he noticed they had a lot of cash on hand. He gathered 5 buddies and planned on robbing that store. His buddies rode into Bisbee, but during that robbery, they shot and killed 4 people and wounded 2 others. one of those dying later on. It didn't take long for the law to catch John and his friends. His 5 friends stood trial, were found guilty of first-degree murder, and sentenced to hang by the neck until dead. On March 28, 1884, if you look out the right side of the coach and over the brick wall, you'll see where they hung those men. As for John Heath, he wasn't present during the robbery or killings. He turned state's evidence in exchange for a separate trial, was found guilty of second-degree murder, and sentenced to life in Yuma Territorial Prison. That didn't sit well with the folks in Bisbee. They gathered a mob outside